Quite strange. So you can't see the people.
Meet David.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining today. My name is Huiwen, and I'll be monitoring the Q&A session today. We'll briefly talk about our company, MySusu, what services we offer, and our values during the first 15 minutes, and then we will have a Q&A session for the rest of our time. Of course, if you have any questions, feel free to type and send them in the chat box, and we will be sure to answer all of them by the end of our session. You can submit questions throughout the session whenever you have them. Without further ado, I'll let the speakers introduce themselves. VS, do you want to go first?
Thank you for that, Hui. And my name is Vimuya Sirleaf, but for the purpose of this Q&A, you can just refer to me as VS.
So my name is Olayemi Bamshua.
My name is Jacob Rowland.
My name is Alec Jones, and I'm part of the marketing team with some developmental economics perspective.
Thank you for the introduction. So to kick off our Q&A session, we'll have a very short speech by VS, our Chief Operating Officer, to talk about how Susu will help your financial problems. Feel free to send in any questions you have. We'll get to those questions shortly.
Thank you so much for that, Hui. As I stated at the beginning of this, my name is Vimuya Sirleaf, and you can just call me VS. The number one question is, what is my Susu? My Susu is basically a rotational saving platform. And what do you mean by rotational savings platform? This is a practice in which trusted friends and family form a group to pull money together and take turns in withdrawing from that collective pot. And this form of rotational savings have been around for quite some time. It's known all around the world, from Africa. It's known as Susu in different countries. In Nigeria, it's known as Isusu. If you go to India, which is also extremely popular, it's known as Chit, and even in Mexico. But the main purpose of us forming this is basically, from my personal experience, we've had some deficiency in personal savings within a certain group of folks here. So if we look back in history, we find out that minorities and disinfected groups have had problems in raising funds, funds at a cheaper level. So what we decided is, me and my group decided to look into this from a historical perspective and see how we can actually provide people with the tools. And I've had the opportunity to work in finance. And over my years in working in finance, I found it I realized that it's extremely difficult for folks to gain access to funds for whatever they might want to do at a cheaper rate. And, we decided to provide people with these tools to see if they can first have an alternative from, instead of going to the banks, to look into the community first. And it's based on that we form my Susu. So moving forward, we will be available to answer all of your questions, your concerns. If you have anything you would like to add, we will also be available to answer those questions. Thank you.
Thank you, VS. Now I think it's time for us to show what is it that we actually can offer you. Again, as a reminder, you're welcome to submit questions in the chat box anytime throughout the Q&A session. We will now have Jake, who's our CEO, founder, and Chief Technology Officer, to introduce our Susu app.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jacob Rowland, but for short, I'm commonly called Jake. When we look at my Susu, I'm from West Africa, Liberia, to be more precise. I grew up in a community where I saw people in the community would come together and and put money together and take turn every time and rotate the money in a small community group. And this group were people who were low-income family, people who couldn't afford to go take loans from the bank, people who couldn't get approved from loans. So what do? They will come together as a community, right, and just open what they call it a Susu group, right, and where they will put money together and they will use this money. So I grew up seeing that process growing up as a child. They will use that money, pay the school fee. They could use it to build a house, And for my long time growing up as a kid, it's a real familiar, popular thing where I grew up, Moving to the U.S. 5 years ago, and I look at the economic structure of America, and I started realizing that, hey, because I'm into technology, why don't us come together and create a digital platform for this? Because the concept is good. It's been proven over the years that it works. And I really see people in America really struggle with saving. I myself, for one, I really struggle with saving. It's just a discipline. I didn't have the discipline, right? So it's just an issue where if you do it with a group of people, you have integrity to uphold. So that's why you see when we're taking money in a group, it's always good that people will hold up to the integrity. So commitment process is always the key. So why don't we just create a digital platform that would make it more seamless, and that's when the whole idea of us establishing, my partners and I establishing this mobile app that will be able to help people reach the saving goals. Other than that, so that's the whole essence of it. Now, the way we develop the app is really good. It's very user friendly, right? It's just what you have 3 steps to go. You have to go sign up for the app, create your account, create your social group, invite your own friends and family, people who you know, let them join your group, put the saving goal to it, and that everybody take turns in receiving the money. It could be weekly, every week collect money, so it's very seamless, seamless, very easy to use, very user friendly. A user can be in Mexico, you can be, in Atlanta, you can be in Rhode Island, it still works for them, so at the end of the time, the app will just go in everybody's account, collect everybody paycheck, deposit it on the person account. So the app is very good, and we really sat down, my team and I, to really put this together, and we can assure you guys that this is going to be a great app. It's going to be very useful for our community. It's going to be very useful for people to purchase their houses. It's going to be very great that people will really come with good testimony. I will turn this back to you, Juan.
Great, thank you, Jake. Now we'll open up for questions. How this will work is that you can feel free to type your questions about anything into the chat box, and we encourage you to please do so. And I will read out your questions to our speakers to answer. So even before our Q&A session, we've already got a number of questions in. And so I think my first question for our speakers today is, can you guys please give a definition of Susu? What exactly, in your opinion, is rotational savings?
So I think I can take that question. So rotational savings, as mentioned, is a method for people to save where, to give an example, let's say you have a group of 3 people and they all decide that they're going to put in $100 into their group, and they're going to do that every month. So that ends up being $300. So 100 times 3 people is $300. And so then maybe the first month, the first friend takes those funds, the next month, the next person, and then the last month, the next person. And so that allows them to have an additional cash flow that they might not have had, to be able to use those funds for specific savings goals, whether they be long-term or short-term. So for example, if the funds that you're receiving from your group, you're going to use those to make a down payment on your house, or to put a better down payment on a car, or to make your full purchase on your car, you would not have had those funds all as one in your bank account, maybe on one specific day. So it allows you to free up cash flow in a way that you would not have been able to by yourself. So that is the concept of rotational saving.
Thank you, Yemi. So our next question is, how can I build credit through participating in a Susu group?
So I'll take that as well. So one of the things that we'll be looking to do is to be able to help people build credit by participating in their Susu groups. So generally, when you think about it, utility companies and credit companies, all different type of companies can report on your credit. So what we'll be doing is, when you're in a group for an extended amount of time, let's say for example your group is gonna run for over 6 months, that shows that you have a history. And so what we would do is basically just report that you're making these payments on a scheduled basis, to really just show that you have a consistency. And so that is going to be reported to the credit bureaus, just like a utility bill can be reported to the credit bureaus, and that over time can help you build better credit.
Sounds great, thank you. We got our first question in from Sydney. Will there be a leader that controls the process, or is it automated by the system?
I would take that. So as the leader of the group, you control your group, meaning you put in the date, the time on how you want the payment to go. So we have all the process go. So once you put in the date, time, the amount you want to rotate, the remaining one left with the app. So the app is just going to make it automatic, right? If payment is scheduled to come out, let's say every week, let's say every Monday, right? So that process is, you as a user, you're not going to call your group members and say, hey, on Monday you're going to pay. No, the app going to do that for you. We're going to send a reminder to the user, say, hey, your Susu is due this time. It can be via text or email. And when that time comes, the app will automatically go to our user account and just withdraw that money that is due to pay. And that's what is important for everybody in a group to connect their account to that. So that when the app goes there, collect the money and deposit the next person account who's supposed to receive payment. So yes, it will be automatic, but the group leader always have to set the, what time and what amount they're trying to, to get.
Great, thank you, Jake. I hope that answered your question, Sydney. So our next question would be, can any member make changes on dates?
Yes, initially before the date or the start date. So for example, if your Susu group is supposed to start on the 1st of February. So before the 1st, you as a group leader, you allowed to make changes, but only a group leader allowed to make changes, not the member in the group. So if you own your own Susu group, we call it group admin. So other members in the group chat will not allowed to make allowed to make any changes with date. But then if it start on February 1st, there's no way, automatically even the group admin is not allowed to change on the day because that has already started. So you can change on the day from that.
Great, thank you. So we have two additional questions, and they're both asking about MySusu. How does it operate outside of the USA? If, say, you're in Canada or you're in a different country with a different currency, does Susu Inc. operate outside of the USA?
So I'll answer that question. For the time being, we are just operating within the U.S. So if you are based in the U.S., you have bank accounts in the U.S., etc., you can go on vacation. Let's say you want to go to Hawaii, or Hawaii is part of America. But if you want to go to Spain or somewhere else, you can still be able to participate in your groups. But if you are someone who is based, let's say you are a citizen of Belgium, right? And you don't have any residence here in the United States, you will not be able to use the application at the present moment because we're just working with the U.S. banking system.
Great, thank you. I hope that answered your question. So our next question is, why do you need the social and other information in order to create an account?
So, Jake, do you want to take that question?
Yeah, I can take that. So cybercrime is very, very, very important in the USA. Like for me, so being a person from an IT perspective and a security background, so we want to make sure that every user who's using this app is authentic, and part of the authentication process is to make sure that you're a person, right? So if we make it a seamless process, you will have random people just, creating an account with this app, and you don't know who you're creating an account to. So we have to verify whether it's a person that's running this account or it's not a person that's running this account. Yeah.
Great, that makes sense. Thank you, Jake. And so I want to bring back to a question asked by another watcher of us. So where are the users' funds held?
So I think I can take that question. So the payment processor that we are partnering with, the way that we are going to move the funds, we will not be housing people's funds in any particular place. So for example, with some platforms, when you're processing transactions, maybe it takes 3 to 4 days before the money moves to the next person. So between that 3 to 4 days, usually the funds are being held somewhere. That isn't going to happen on our platform. We'll work to make sure that we move funds as quickly as possible, whether it be same day or next day. So when funds move from one person's account, it's going to automatically go to the next person's account that is supposed to receive those funds. So therefore, there is no need for housing the funds in any one place. It should be a direct, seamless.
Thank you, Yemi. Our next question is, can an individual be with multiple Susu groups within the app or just one?
I can take that one. Yes, you can have multiple Susu group if you're invited into it, but yes, you can.
So just to clarify, does that mean that you can be in multiple groups only by invitation, so you can only create one group?
So you can create multiple groups, and you can also be in multiple groups. Our whole point is just making sure that we can verify that it's you. We don't usually care whether or not you're in multiple groups, as long as you're creating your community. It's not we don't police how you create your community. All we are there to make sure is that the folks involved in that community are legit, and they can be proven that they're legit people, not just some phantom accounts. That's all we care about.
That's great, thank you. So why don't we go back to the time when we first founded Susu? So can we talk more about how Susu will benefit our users, and what are the benefits of using the Susu app?
So I think I can take that question. So there are several benefits to using our app. We pride ourselves in being able to bring savings within reach for you. So it's going to help you build community. So Susu is something that is used for individual savings, like things like buying your house, buying your car, but people also use Susu to build their communities. For example, as we said, Susu is the term that is used in West Africa, although this is a concept used all around the world. There are some people in communities in West Africa and in South America who they use Susu to literally build their community, to make sure that there's better paved roads, to make sure that their schools are better. So for example, an issue here in America sometimes is the support around teachers and school books and things like that, right? So you can rally around Susu to help build your community beyond just the individuals that are in the group. It helps you have more confidence with saving because it brings an element of accountability that you wouldn't have to yourself, because now you have this accountability to making sure that the members of your group are going to be able to succeed as well. It promotes your financial independence because we are really about community here, and we're also about helping you become more financially independent, so that we're going to provide tools to you to help you be able to make more informed decisions. We also are going to make sure this is accessible basically for all people. As long as you have an income, it's accessible to you. And this is a globally proven method. It's not something that just came up yesterday. This has been used for hundreds of years, so there's plenty of things that are going to help you be able to save with MySusu.
Thank you. So we have a follow-up question from before. Do you guys mind explain more about the drawing process in the group?
The drawing of funds process?
Yes, I believe so.
All right. So the process goes is like this, right? I will just give an example of a scenario just to make you understand it better. So if I'm a group admin and I create a Susu group and I said, hey, I want everybody in my Susu group to contribute, let's say $50, right? And we are 10 in a group, right? So what happened is that if I put a withdrawing date, let's say it's weekly, right? And then maybe it comes out every Monday, right? What the app is going to do is on Monday, it's going to go into those 5 boy accounts, right? Withdraw the $50. It's like you making an automatic bill payment, right? And you set up your bill to automatic. Just give an example. Withdraw those $50, and since you're the group admin, so you're going to tell the app, say, hey, as you call it the first $50, we're going to give it to VS, for example, right? The next time we connect the $50, it's going to go to Yemi. The next time we go to Jake. So that's what you're going to set up in the app. So once you set up that in the app, all the app is doing is when every Monday reaches, just go into everybody's account, collect money, give it to Jake. The next time, collect everybody money and give it to VS, and until everybody in the group collect the money. I know that then you can choose you want to rerun the group again or not. So But the process of a withdrawing process is like the money is not sitting in nobody's account. It just transfer, it just collecting for everybody and depositing in one person's account based on the turn. So the app is not holding anybody's money. So that's why it's important that you always connect your bank account. And we made it mandatory that before you join a group, you definitely want to connect your bank account because we don't want a process where it's time for payment and the other person in the group not trying to pay the money and time to withdraw money, they know will be running. So once your account is connected to the app will just do the rest for you.
Great, thank you. So our next question is, how will you assure that an individual doesn't collect their money and then just leave the group? And another follow-up question would be, how can the app ensure that all group members are participating? And how to stop freeloaders?
Okay, I can delve more into that. In regards to that, the participation, one thing we really focused on is the community aspect. We put the decision into your hands. So it's 50% your job to make sure that whoever is in your group is trustworthy, and we also share that responsibility. We share that responsibility in the sense that if someone is freeloaded once before, we have a mechanism built in that person cannot participate again. Moving forward, like we stated, if they will be reported to the crediting bureaus to make sure that it's on them to make up that deficit if they freeload. So that's built into the app. So like I stated earlier, it's 50-50. We do our part to make sure to deter people from freeloading, but it's also you. That's why we give you the power to build your community. So not to put people you don't know. That's why we are not choosing those people for you. You are choosing your own people, bringing them in, and creating your own group. So it's a 50-50 responsibility in this case.
Yes, and just to
add, what's the follow-up question?
Sorry.
The follow-up is, how can the app ensure that all group members are participating, i.e., how to stop freeloaders in the group?
Like I just answered, the criteria built into the app is set up by the person creating the group. So you go in, set up your criteria. After that, all the app does is just make sure that everything is processed seamlessly. So you invite your folks, they put in their information, everything is collected, and based on the time you set up, payments will start processing and moving to whoever turn it is. But then in regards to freeloader, like I stated, it's a 50-50. We try our best to mitigate that. That's why we don't recommend anyone to you. It's all your own group, your people We are not bringing anyone that you have never seen before. So it's all in your own group. So the 50% of that responsibility is with you. Make sure you have folks that you trust within your community to bring in before and then, if someone freeloads, they are reported to us, and then in turn, we'll turn that over to the credit bureaus.
Yeah, so thank you, VS. And just to add on to what he said as well, we also have other mechanisms. For example, if someone does not make a payment, their account will be locked until they rectify that. So no one is allowed to come onto the application where they're just going to be able to just take funds. Funds are going to come from you before you're going to receive anything. But we do have those mechanisms, like your account will be locked. And then we also have other methods to try to help on the back end, like VS mentioned, with the whole the credit reporting situation, and then as well collections. So, and then I just want to also throw out the statistic there that, because of the fact that most of the time Susu groups are with people who know each other, who trust each other, they're not random people. There is way less than half of a percent chance that someone is going to fail to make their contribution, and that is something that I didn't create. That those are statistics that are out there. The likelihood of somebody failing is very low because there is a community of people who trust each other.
Exactly.
So
you're mute. You're mute.
Oh, sorry. Our next question is, have Susu thought about incorporating cryptocurrencies or stable coins into our platform for international expansion?
I will answer that. to an extent. So we are thinking about not just cryptocurrency. We are thinking about a whole lot of things, but that's down the line, and it's definitely a conversation we have had within our group. But what we want to make sure is, we want to make sure that our core business focus, which is in America and creating that community savings platform, is seen to be successful. We don't want to stretch ourselves too thin to an extent where we are already in cryptocurrency and we haven't actually our overall goal of savings within reach hasn't been achieved or near achievement yet. So we are thinking about that. We are thinking about so many other ways of even creating investment AI investment advice platforms for folks who want to invest. We're having those discussions. But first, we want to focus on when we launch the app within the near future, which may be between 6 months to a year. Focus on our key function of just creating that savings within reach, and then after that, we'll incorporate so many other things. We're even working on other mechanisms that we have not even brought up yet, which might excite folks. So with regards to the cryptocurrency question, we did talk about it, but we haven't integrated that into the system yet. But it's definitely room for that to be integrated.
Great, I look forward to it. So our next question is, what if a user account is low or inactive? Will the app still debit it?
So I think I can answer that question. So once you join your group, you have a responsibility to your group. All of the terms of the group were set by the group leader and agreed upon by all of the users. So we are going to have a set standard time where we send notifications out to you. Anytime the activity is going to come from your account, you're going to get a notification about that ahead of time. And your group leader also will have the ability to go and send reminders to you straight from the app about your payments. So the same way that maybe your car note is due on a certain day every month, or your rent is due on a certain day, you have that responsibility. And so because you set an agreement that you are going to move funds on this specific day, it's going to happen on that specific day, unless it's like a bank holiday or something like that. It's going to happen. And then if you fail to make your payment, we will reach out to you 2 to 3 times to try to rectify the situation. But until you rectify your payment, if you're not able to make it on time, then your account will end up being blocked until you rectify that payment, because we have to protect your group members and we have to protect the community as a whole. So if we allow you to carry on and make new groups or do other things on our platform without rectifying your payment, then that would not be protecting your group members. So yes, on the scheduled date, your funds will be moved. And if it is unsuccessful, we will try to rectify that with you.
Great, thank you, Yemi. So what if the user does not have a group, but he or she still wants to be part of a MySusu community?
So that is something we are working on in the near future. I don't know if it's okay with my colleagues to say this, but what we are looking to do is we're also working with insurance companies, because that's a very risky part, because that's leaving out the community portion. So basically what we are thinking about with that is, if someone doesn't have a group and want to be part of a group, we will have a few test phases where we bring folks that don't know each other. But right now we are in negotiation with insurance companies, because if someone within that group does not, make a contribution, so, the insurance company can come in and fill in that void. So that's definitely something we are looking to do. But we are in negotiation with, a few insurance companies to provide that, because like you stated, the fear is someone not contributing. And if you're not knowing someone, give you a higher risk, because, it's a community. So in order to mitigate that risk, we're thinking about, having an insurance where you guys within the group can contribute towards an insurance to prove that, hey, if one of us doesn't make a payment, the insurance can come in and fill in that void. So at least everybody can feel even. So we have definitely thought about that, and we're working on it.
Great, thank you. So our next question is again about how to join a group on MySusu. When you log into the app, are you able to automatically see different groups, or could someone request to join a group that they were not originally invited to?
I'll
I
answer
think
that.
Jake can take that.
One of the things we are the traditional aspect of my Susu is basically confidential, right? People in Susu group, they don't want other people to know. So we make it very private. We don't display nobody group or nobody. So when you log into the app, the only thing you can probably see is just users. Maybe but you can see no groups name and you have to be invited to a group. So it's very private. If you're not invited to a group, you don't know there's a group existing, right? Because we're trying to make this people like to keep their saving private. People like to keep their community private, and that's a key. And that's what we want to make sure that groups are not just all over the place, and people know everybody what's going on in every group. No, so unfortunately, if you log into the app and you don't have a group, it's either you grade one or maybe you receive a group invite. That's how it works. Thank you.
Thank you, Jake. So our next question is, what is the mechanism for someone that joins the group and wants to leave the group afterwards?
Um, it all depends. We can look at that in two phases. So let's say if you join a group and contribution haven't started yet and you leave a group, that's fine. It's you can understand. Before contribution comes out, you can leave that. There's no trouble with that. But let's say you join a group and contribution have started. Obviously, that creates a tricky situation. Now, on our end, we just have to make sure that if you have collected, you will also contribute, because it's relatively unfair for you to just come in, collect from other folks, and just leave. So that on our end, we just want to make sure that whoever is part of that group get whatever they put in on the terms agreed before the group started. So before the group withdrawal start, it's fine. You can leave. It's okay. It's up to your group leader. It's none of our business. Our job is just the platform and making sure that whatever is agreed on, you know within that forum happens. So we are just the ref in that position. Now, if you have taken already and you don't want to give to someone else, that comes again to where your account will be locked, and basically we will have some reporting on you, because I think it's relatively fair from a human perspective.
Right. So, in short, you cannot leave a group once the group has already started, and if you decide to try and think that you can take a contribution and not live up to the rest of your arrangements to your group, this isn't you have an agreement with the people in your group. So in traditional Susu, where maybe you don't have an actual contract with people, you should think of it as this: you have a contract with the people in your group, and you can be held legally liable for that at multiple stages, as I mentioned before. So we have your account can get locked. We can take collections actions against you, and so on and so forth. But you are in an agreement with people that can be upheld by the law. So no, you cannot leave your group once contribution has started. But before, any changes can be made.
And to add to that, it's more of a social contract of a community. You're part of a community. I think it's imperative for all of us in a community. You want to be a good citizen of that community. So it's a social compact that you're basically forming a group, a pre-agreed contract between you and your group leaders and all of those participating within that group, stating that you guys agreed to something and you guys trying to see it through. And again, we have length in how you can set the group. It can go for one time, or it can go for a year, or it can go for 6 months. It's up to you guys. All we care about is basically providing you with the platform and making sure that everybody is treated fairly. That's all.
Thank you. So our next question is, traditionally, Susu, there is a service fee. And is there a fee to join our app or to start a group in our case?
So I'll answer that. So on our platform, we do charge a facilitation fee for the group. So the fee is assessed on the total amount that will be saved by the group. So if your group is going to end up in its lifetime saving, let's say, $10,000 together. That's how much cash that you guys have brought together that everyone was able to participate in. We're going to charge a facilitation fee on that.
Just to add to that, so we provided, it's like, common example is like you pay for the platform, right? We provide a platform that you control your group. So it's like if a person uses, let's say Uber or Lyft, Uber and Lyft just provide application platform. The driver or the passenger pay a fee for the platform, right? That's just how it's going to work. Like extra, it's not going to be a charge that anybody going to feel. It just like it could be 1 cent, 2. I'm just giving an example, but not 1 cent, 2 cent. But yeah, so it's basically that we provide the platform and you pay for the platform to use it.
Thank you. So our next question is, how does MySusu protect user information and privacy? That's
one of our key focus, right? We set confidential, right? So we make sure that a user, like I said earlier, if a user join the platform, we integrate it. We have something called we encrypt all our data, like our application data. We make sure that users are able to share information to anybody information of anybody group to any social media platform. We make sure that our application we use is, we make sure that we protect it. We make sure that we have a high security platform to make sure that it's free from anybody coming to hack it and all that. So definitely we ready assure you guys that every user who uses this platform, data and information is going to be protected.
Sounds great, Jake. Thank you.
Also, to add, even the third-party folks that we deal with in managing all of those, they wouldn't share your information as well. So you should be confident that none of your information will be shared. To be clear with you, 99% of the time, I wouldn't be able to see your information the way it's all set up. So it's very well secured in terms of privacy and securing your data.
Great, thank you, VS. So our next question is more towards the economic side. So would Alec, you be interested in speaking more to that?
Yeah, sure. So do you have any kind of specific inquiry there, or just generally like how Susu operates within an international and domestic economic atmosphere?
That's actually great.
Okay, perfect. So its origins are not in the United States, as you guys have heard a lot about. It's more of a West African heritage, but it goes on in over like 200 countries. Typically, it's used in countries that don't have strong financial institutions that can protect your wealth. So if you're trying to accumulate a secure financial position, but the banking system in your country isn't really strong, communities form together to essentially create Susu groups and build up enough money to buy fixed assets that can help them increase their quality of living. That's the original purpose. But it's been used for a lot more than that. There were an influx of immigrants to the United States, to New York City from the Caribbean islands, and they used Susu to buy homes and to meet rent and to buy, even just grocery sharing, so stuff like that. So it's a good tool if you have institutions that are either non-functional or corrupt, and you have a lot of people around you who you can trust. And so in a way, you're kind of decentralizing legitimacy of your own financial agency. So that's one of the ideas behind it. The two ideas that I think are more applicable to our domestic marketplace right now are the fact that, as we've been hearing a lot about, 50% of America has essentially no savings whatsoever, and they need to find a mechanism that can enable them to do that. With Susu, there are two elements that make it really appealing that traditional financial institutions aren't offering right now. The first one is that there's this social accountability. When you're saving on your own, you have every incentive to save, but it can be difficult to actually maintain that discipline and look at yourself to meet your goals at the end of the month instead of just, spending it on whatever discretionary purchase you're thinking of making. So if you have a group of people who you've made an obligation to, there's been a lot of psychological research that demonstrates that this is a very powerful reinforcer that keeps people obligated towards their goal. And then the second one is it's actually very specific. It's one thing to say, I'm going to save for my mortgage, or I'm going to save for a car payment, or I'm going to save for my cell phone bill or something. It's one thing to just say that, but it's very general. That's not a goal you can meet. when you're saying, I'm going to sit down with a group of people and every single month I'm going to contribute $100 towards my goal. And it's going to be held somewhere where if I waver or I lose my discipline, I'm not actually going to kind of be able to betray my own goal. I'm going to have it sheltered there until it's my turn to receive it. So you're essentially committing to forcing yourself to behave in a way that is beneficial towards you. And from a domestic perspective, I think we live in a very interesting period of time, because what's going on with a lot of the financial institutions at the stock market right now is raising a lot of questions of, well, how much do institutions protect our money? So we've been looking a lot into that and just kind of determining the overlap, right? It's similar to how this originated, where we want to keep our money amongst ourselves and allow it to grow in a manner that is healthy for us. And if we can't put it in the institutions, we have to find another sustainable way to do that. And so I think Susu is a good way to get around a lot of the limitations of just working on your own. So I think kind of from the broadest perspective, that is where it lies on both ends of the spectrum.
Great, thank you, Alex. We have another question. Is Susu strictly limited to the US? I like the word strictly. So is there any way to use it outside the US?
So to reiterate on that, if you are a U.S. citizen or a resident, or there's a lot of terms, so I don't want to be too technical. If you are a person who is allowed to legally be in the U.S., right, you can use this. So if you are living in Canada, but you have a U.S. social, you have bank accounts that are based in the U.S., it doesn't matter that you are not necessarily physically in the U.S., but we are working with the U.S. banking system. So you will not be able to be in China and use a bank account that's based in China, or be in Ghana and try to use United Bank for Africa or something like that. You need to be able to be verified the same way that someone based in the U.S. would be able to be verified based upon identity, and your account needs to be a U.S.-based account because we are working with the U.S. banking system. And also, I mean, maybe Jay can speak more to this, but because it is meant to be based in the U.S., we cannot assure you that you'll have the full same experience with the app. You could have some potential technical experience that might be slightly different, just because of the fact that maybe your internet speed or things like that are not going to work necessarily the same in different countries. It's meant for the U.S., but you can use it outside of the U.S. if you have the parameters that I just mentioned.
Great, thank you. So our next question is more about the group dynamics. If all members' needs or goals are met, does the group automatically disband, or can it create a new goal? If the latter, can a member choose to opt out of the group?
So Jake, I think you can take that.
Yeah, so all members, so let's say example, if the group running for 6 months, to just give a scenario, I would like to hear it. So, and that 6 months is over and everybody collected the money, and that the group admin want to run this group again. So we create a process where before you join a group, we send you all information about that group. So let's say, for example, if I send a group request to Yemi, for example, right, to join my group, right? Yemi gonna see all the specific information of that group, and she have the right to decline it, the invitation, or accept the invitation. Now, if she joined the group and the group run for 6 months, and the group member want to run the group again, that same notification gonna go to Yemi and say, hey, we are going to run the group again. Do you want to join in again on that? So all the specific always going to be from user going to accept it or decline it. So it's always you control that option. We don't automatically make the group rerun without your approval. So everything that's going to go through is going to be your approval.
Thank you, Jake. So I guess our next question will be, can Jake show us a little demo, a preview of our website?
Yes, let me do that right now. I'll share my screen and so let me know if you can see my screen.
Yes.
All right, so we actually launching this website on Tuesday, but I will just show you a little I'm not going to talk everything about it, but just give you how it looks, the appearance, the presentation. This is the interface of the app. This is how the app going to look like. This is when you try to get an account. And this is another one that just say community, who we are. We talk about saving the family. We talk about the different goals people will try to reach, achieve, how to create a group. We have the illustration right here that shows you have 3 steps. You create an account. You set your group conditions right here, and you invite your friends. It's as simple as that. And you have resource information where we show people, help people with who have financial struggles. We need more information on saving for college. We have information to that. We have our value page, our career page. So basically, our value page here has a video demo that just tell you what our value is. We talk about community, like other key points we talk about. So we do have a lot of information on the website. Even though we might not answer all your questions that are there, but once we launch the website, our FAQ section, which is this, answer most of your questions. Like, for example, what is a Susu group and what is a rotational saving? You can comment, how does a group work? So we have all this information will be available on the website, which we are launching on Tuesday. We're supposed to launch it this weekend, but due to some technical reason, we postpone it till Tuesday. So once we launch the website, we make sure it's going to be accessible for everybody. And yeah, basically that's about it.
Thank you, yes. Jake. So I think as we approach the end of our Q&A session, I hope everyone learned more about Susu, and I hope we were able to answer most, if not all, of the questions. You can always feel free to submit more questions later on after the Q&A session. We encourage you to join our app waitlist at waitlist@susuinc.com. You're encouraged also to visit our website to learn more about our company, the information, and follow us on social media to look forward to our upcoming app launch. We hope you have a great rest of your day. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for the time. You have a blessed day.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks for joining.
Thank you for joining.